As House Speaker Paul Ryan plans his departure from Washington, many people are wondering what type of legacy he'll leave behind. One America's Salvi takes a look at one of the Speaker's more lasting effects that he may not be too proud of.
A candidate who promised fiscal responsibility, a balanced budget, and reduced governmental spending has little evidence to support those claims as he retires from Congress. In an interview last week, Paul Ryan told the Washington Post his biggest disappointment as House Speaker was growing the amount of federal debt. The annual deficit fell the 4 years prior to Ryan's tenure as Speaker, but has since increased by 80%. Under his tenure, the amount of outstanding federal debt grew by $2 trillion, with the federal deficit increasing by $343 billion.
When you're budgeting, just like families and businesses do, that you cannot continue to kick the can down the road, that you cannot continue to spend money we just don't have.
The issue is somewhat ironic since Ryan prides himself as a policy wonk who rose to prominence because of his promise to take on federal spending. He's now criticized by members of his own party for adding to the problem. While most conservatives agree that the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act was long overdue, many fiscal hawks were concerned with the way that it contributed to the deficit.
How come you were against President Obama's deficits, and then how come you're for Republican deficits? Isn't that the very definition of intellectual dishonesty?
The Congressional Budget Office projected the tax bill would add $1.5 trillion to the deficit over the next 10 years, even after factoring in its economic growth. And more recently, Ryan pushed through a $1.3 trillion omnibus spending bill, which included $300 billion in spending increases. It expanded welfare programs, funded groups like Planned Parenthood, and didn't make cuts to any department's budget. While the bill had to be passed by the Senate and signed by the president, the bill started in the House, where Republicans had the majority, and Ryan was making the calls. The Speaker of the House has a vast amount of power, with the ability to at least curb deficits if one so desires. For example, Ryan could have enforced the congressional pay-go rule, which would bar any bill that increases the deficit from coming to a vote. He also could have pushed for a balanced budget amendment to make sure that the government didn't spend more money than it brought in, something that he once promised.
We have a jobs deficit. We have a budget deficit. And these are the byproducts of a leadership deficit. We owe the American people a responsible, balanced budget. That's what we are delivering today.
These are the principles Ryan campaigned on, but the results he's leaving behind tell a different story. In Ryan's last year in Congress, the U.S. is expected to issue $1.3 trillion in new debt, up 146% from the prior year.
We think we should balance our budget, pay our bills.
Look at our pending debt crisis. We are fiscal conservatives. What that means is we believe government should not live beyond its means. That means we have to get our fiscal house in order to prevent a debt crisis in the future.
The legacy of Ryan might be his effect on the budget, with the Congressional Budget Office estimating in 2019 the deficit will pass $1 trillion for the first time since the 2008 financial crisis, and a new speaker making the calls. Alex Salvi, One America News.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One America News on YouTube, and call your cable provider and kindly demand that One America News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.